Greetings and welcome back to peer-guided DBT lessons provided by DBT skills application Peers Helping Peers. As we enter into this week's lesson, we would once again like to remind everyone that we're simply peers helping peers, working together as we move towards a more positive, constructive, and ultimately happier life. When we examine the components or states of mind which make up wise mind, it is the balancing of these components, reasonable mind and emotional mind, which makes up wise mind. When looking at the characteristics of reasonable mind, one might describe it as the cool state of mind. It is sometimes called logic mind. It is the state of mind which people use, for example, when doing math, reading a map, or various other concrete tasks. Reasonable mind views the world rationally, paying attention to observable facts and phenomena. You might find yourself somewhat detached from the situation and find yourself noticing the facts and planning future behavior based solely on observable knowledge. Emotion mind is considered the hot state of mind. Emotion mind is a state of mind in which we feel the depth of our emotions and act from an emotional state. In emotion mind, you may notice the facts, but find yourself distorting them or amplifying them based on your current emotional state. In emotion mind, it's difficult to remain objective. You may find yourself engaging in behaviors that are solely driven by your subjective perception, feelings, and internal emotional state. In the extreme, this state of mind would be used if you, for example, reacted impulsively out of anger without regard to the consequences. Wise mind is the balance between reasonable mind and emotional mind. It is the middle way. Wise mind is our effort to link our experiences of emotional distress with our reasonable, logical abilities and is the basis of skillfulness and wise mind. Wise mind takes into account logical thinking and emotions and does not let either overtake or overshadow the other. It then adds something more, a sense of calmness and wisdom, intuition. The core sense of wise mind involves a deep sense of intuitive knowing. In this sense, intuition goes beyond reason and what is perceived by the senses. Many will remember the old and new Star Trek movies and TV series. We've used 3 Star Trek characters to help illustrate the 3 states of mind. Spock, the Vulcan scientist, illustrates the characteristics of reasonable mind. The left side of the brain is primarily used for processing. Spock is an example of someone who acts in reasonable mind. He uses the facts and only the facts. He is logical. He is analytical, has a flat effect, and is monotone. To help us illustrate the characteristics of emotional mind, we've used the ship's Dr. McCoy, or bones. The right side of the brain is primarily used for processing. Dr. McCoy is an example of someone who usually acts in emotional mind. We see the emotional side. He is reactive, impulsive, prone to irrational thinking. He is also compassionate and empathetic. We've used Captain Kirk to help illustrate the characteristics of wise mind. When using wise mind, the right and left sides of the brain are used for processing. Captain Kirk is an example of someone who usually acts in wise mind. It brings together the best of reasonable mind and emotional mind. It includes gut instinct, intuitive knowledge, and knowing the truth deep within your heart while you are emotionally calm. It is wisdom from within. So in conclusion, where do you see yourself most of the time in handling life situations? Are you using reasonable mind only? Are you using emotional mind only? Or are you striving to find the balance between the two, wise mind? In next week's lesson, we'll be looking at the what skills of mindfulness.